Hello my soccer universe, to a review of everything that happened in Europe's big leagues outside of Austria and Italy, as always on the last weekend of April. You can hear it in my voice, I'm battling with a combination of a serious cold plus pollen. It's just miserable, so I'm trying to stand up here, but for most of the video I'll be sitting down because I don't really feel all that great. However, be it as it may, one trophy was handed out to Barcelona, who won the Copa del Rey in a Clásico final. It was an absolute wonderful game. Unfortunately, Real Madrid tried to make a mess out of it by first really going at the referee, completely unnecessary so, and then losing the SHIT at the end with Antonio Rudiger being sent off. And I'm saying this because I don't mention this in the match review, because the game was a really good one. We had also a title clinched. Liverpool get their 20th and celebrations at Anfield. It's probably the best way to celebrate a title. You just have to get a point. You're playing at home. You play against an opponent where you know you will score, and so the celebrations were really great, and finally Anfield can celebrate, because the previous title they had to celebrate at home. Having said that, two other teams have clinched their titles, and I'm usually not talking about these, but they are Slavia Praha, who win the Czech championship, and Celtic, who draw level on 55 titles with Rangers. So both of these we will see next year, most likely in the Champions League. I guess they will make it through qualification. Bayern, on the other hand, didn't clinch the title yet. Yes, Leverkusen were spoilers. However, the race for the Champions League spots there is very much alive, as it is in France. In the Netherlands, Ajax are really nervous, I gotta say. And in Portugal, it's really all down to the two Lisbon teams meeting in 2 weeks' time. However, we're going to start not in any of these leagues. We're going to start at the highlight of the weekend, which was the Copa del Rey Final. The Copa del Rey Final was the expected wonderful match that we were all secretly hoping for, although after the first half I thought this is going to be another Barcelona demolition of Real Madrid. They really were the better team, and Pedri was just playing better than anyone else on the pitch, and he was also the scorer of the opening goal when he played a deep ball to Lamine Yamal, who binds 4 if not 5 Real Madrid players, plays the ball back to Pedri, who then from the edge of the box wonderfully shoots in the upper corner to give Barcelona a fully deserved 1-0 halftime lead. However, Carlo Ancelotti made good changes at the halftime. He brought on Mbappe. It was a little bit of a surprise to me, at least, that Mbappe didn't play from the beginning. I guess he has a slight injury. Brought on Modric and later on, and also Arda Güler, and all these changes put Real Madrid more into the game. Suddenly, everyone was actually working to get the ball of Barcelona and dart directly for goal. And there was always the danger, especially through Vini Jr. already in the first half. Although the one chance that he had where a penalty would have been given, he was offside. If he lets Rodrigo run through instead of taking it himself, probably this would have been a penalty for Real Madrid already in the first half. But there was always the danger there. And then it didn't come as a surprise. It was Frenkie de Jong who brings down Mbappe, and Mbappe shoots the free kick from a very centralized position right into the net. But I'm really wondering, yes, this was the goalkeeper's corner, but the wall was basically only covering half the goal. It was a really weird wall, I would say. It was almost an invitation from Mbappe to put the ball right there. And then it comes as it comes. Madrid had the upper hand, and an Arda Güler corner is headed in by Jermaine in the 77th minute. Game turned on its head. I don't want to say that Real Madrid led not deservedly at that point, because it was coming in the second half, but when I take the first half into account, yeah, it would have been alright. But Barcelona fight themselves back, and again it's Lamine Yamal, wonderful deep ball that is misjudged by both Rudiger and Courtois, and Ferran Torres gets past the keeper and can roll it into the empty net. And then I again thought that Barcelona have the upper hand, and then there was the big scene where a penalty in the 97th minute was given for Barcelona. However, you see in the replay that Rafinha is really seeing the leg and just falling over, so the penalty was taken away. And a huge decision after all this controversy surrounding the referee in the build-up to the game. To overtime it goes. Well, I went to bed because honestly, kicking off at 10 in the evening is just not my cup of tea anymore. I was hoping that this will be decided in regulation, so I was actually quite happy once that penalty was given. But yeah, that's beside the point. That's my problem. We'll talk about the game. Overtime period was, as you would would expect. They were rather tentative. It seemed to be heading for penalties. Each team had a chance. And then it's a misplaced ball by Modric that Brahim Diaz cannot really control. And it's Jules Koundé who picks it up, takes a shot from far outside, and it's the winning goal for Barça, who win their first title this season, and one that really feels like this might lift them now also to winning the league. We also had a solitary game in La Liga, a makeup game from a round earlier on that was postponed because of bad weather in Villarreal. Villarreal get a huge 1-0 win thanks to a Pino goal in the 52nd minute, meaning that they are in control of finishing 5th, which is the last spot in the Champions League for La Liga this season, against a really sturdy Espanyol side. Are Ajax crumbling just before the finish line after being beaten by Utrecht 4-0 away from home on the past weekend? This time they only managed a 1-1 draw at home against Sparta Rotterdam, and in the end they were lucky to get out because Sparta took a 95th minute lead, only to be equalized by Rudiger 2 minutes later. However, if you look overall the game, Ajax had 3 times as many chances, dominated the game left and right, just couldn't get the ball over the line. And so now the lead for Ajax is only 7 points and PSV have a game in hand. The team that thumped Ajax that much, Utrecht, are also on a great run. They get another 4-0 win, this time a 4-0 away at Waalwijk, meaning they keep their chances of finishing in 3rd, which is a Champions League qualification spot, just about alive. However, Feyenoord also have a game in hand and they also win 4-0 against Pek Zwolle at home. Weda Milambo and the Peshao Brace make that final result. And Heerenveen is kind of solidifying their last spot in the playoff thanks to a 1-0 at home over Nijmegen, the winning goal coming through a Niculescu penalty. Despite Bayern beating up on Mainz 3-0 with goals by Leroy Sané, Michael Olise and Eric Dyer, the first two also assisted by Konrad Laimer, they're not celebrating the championship and they have to win now the next game, or at least get a point out of that one to celebrate the championship, and Harry Kane won't be present because he got his 5th yellow card. Bayern's party poopers were of course Bayer Leverkusen, who win at home against Augsburg 2-0, both goals scored coming out in the first half with Patrick Schick and Buendia scoring just before the half. There was also a Teja goal disallowed in between. Down at the bottom we also had quite some interesting results. Heidenheim solidified their relegation spot thanks to a late 1-0 win at Stuttgart. The Stuttgart team that is really already thinking only about the cup final. Hansak scoring the winning goal in the 89th minute, which put a lot of pressure on both Kiel and Bochum, but Kiel won a crazy 4-3 home win over Borussia Mönchengladbach. They had a 2-0 halftime lead, then Kvančara and Player equalized that in the 69th minute. Gigovic re-establishes the lead for Kiel. That is then equalized by Honorat in the 86th minute, and then in stoppage time Machino gets the 4-3. Mad game. Kiel just about in the running to maybe get to this relegation spot. Whereas Bochum is getting one step closer to relegation, managing only a 1-1 draw at home to Union Berlin, and they were even down through a Hollerbach goal in the 17th minute. Bero getting the equal in 68th minute on a penalty rebound shot, but now they're sitting in last place despite having picked up points. Also, the race for the final 2 Champions League spots is really heating up. Borussia Dortmund very much in the running thanks to a dramatic 3-2 away win at Hoffenheim. They had a 1-0 lead through Girassi, who also missed a penalty in the 34th minute. Logic equalizes for Hoffenheim, but then Julian Brandt gives Dortmund in the 74th minute the go-ahead goal that is then equalized by Kader Bajek in the 91st minute. However, in the 95th minute, Waldemar Anton pops up in the box, should be defending, and gets Dortmund a dramatic winner. However, their rivals Freiburg also get a win, 1-0 at Wolfsburg. A Wolfsburg team that is really falling at this stage of the season. Rosenfelder in the 49th minute getting the winning goal after Maxi Arnold was sent off already in the first half. And so beside Mainz, the only other team that is losing ground are Leipzig, who were completely taken out by Eintracht Frankfurt. It was a 4-0 final scoreline. Yes, in the 50th minute, Bicciabo was sent off, but at that moment, Ansgar Knauf had already given Frankfurt the go-ahead goal. A couple of minutes after that red card, Knauf doubles it up, and then Etikette and Koch add 2 more. Frankfurt looking very safe in the 3rd space. And then the only game we have not talked about that didn't have any relevance to either one of these 3 battles ends in a 0-0 draw between Bremen and St. Pauli. Crystal Palace, who have never won the trophy, and Manchester City will meet each other for the FA Cup final. It was a rather dominant performance for Crystal Palace off the ball, really a Glasner clinic, beating Aston Villa 3-0, and Unai Emery's match plan more or less playing also into the cards of Crystal Palace. Eberechi Eze in the 31st minute opens the scoring, and then Sarr scores a brace in the second half, one early. Mateta even missed a penalty in the 53rd minute, and then Sarr in stoppage time really seals the deal. Impressive stuff, and Crystal Palace are really eyeing that one trophy. Coach Oliver Glasner, first Austrian to coach a team into the FA Cup final. However, it's not a stretch to say that the favourites in that final will be Manchester City, who look like they're kinda sorta just about back. Yes, it really helped that Elanga was not playing for Forest, but City were the dominant side, scoring early in each half through Rico Lewis and Josko Guardiol, 2nd and 51st minute. And yes, Forest may have hit the woodwork 3 times, but you always felt that City are in control of that one and deservedly move on to the final. I gotta say, it was a little bit weird to see the Premier League also play on this weekend. 7 fixtures after all, and let's run through this. Chelsea get a 1-0 home win against Everton, who were more or less already on the beach, with Nico Jackson scoring his first goal of the new year. On Graham Potter's return to Brighton, Kudus and Souček turn around a 1-0 halftime deficit for West Ham in the 83rd minute. However, Brighton still run away winners, turning it around in the 89th Mitoma and the 92nd Baleba. Newcastle at least temporarily storm into 3rd place thanks to a 3-0 drubbing of Ipswich, who are now confirmed as the last relegated team from this Premier League season. Southampton were close to get above the 11-point mark. They had a 1-0 lead against Fulham at halftime. However, Emil Smith-Rowe in 72nd and a Sessegnon winner in the 92nd minute give Fulham the 3 points. Wolves are currently the best performing team in the top leagues. I think it's already a 6th win in a row. This time it's a 3-0 home win over hapless Leicester. And a late goal by Rasmus Højlund salvages a point for United at Bournemouth, who had a 1-0 lead through Semenyo in the 23rd minute. However, Evan Nielsen, a red card in the 70th minute, kind of turned the game in favour of United. But let's be honest, the only real game was Liverpool taking on Spurs. Liverpool needed a solitary point to confirm their 20th championship, and they do so in style. Yes, Solanke gave Spurs the lead in the 12th minute. However, former player Luis Diaz had already equalised, was initially given as an offside. And when McAllister in the 24th minute gives Liverpool the lead, all the floodgates opened. Everyone knew it's Liverpool who's going to win that one. Cody Gakpo, 3-1. Mohamed Salah, of course, also had to add one, making a selfie with the crowd. And Udogie, own goal, make it a 5-1 final line, and then all the floodgates open. Celebrations, Arne Slot celebrating, Jurgen Klopp, of course, and Liverpool fans finally could rejoice and celebrate the championship in person, because the last one was during COVID times when you had to celebrate on your own. PSG won't finish the Ligue 1 season as an unbeaten, the first unbeaten French champion. Heck, they're not even breaking the 32-game unbeaten streak by Nantes. That must have really stung, because PSG played more or less with the first team squad and they were dominant, created tons of chances. However, Sanson with the first chance for Nice give Nice the lead in the 34th minute. Fabian Ruiz in the 41st finally gets the breakthrough for PSG, but then right off the kickoff, Sanson again strikes, and then PSG couldn't find an answer. Even worse, Nadia Chimie gets the 3-1 in the 70th minute. That's not good preparation for PSG for the clash with Arsenal in the midweek. And with that win, Nice are also fully back into the race for European spots from Ligue 1. At the moment, only the top 6 get that spot. If Reims win the cup, then it remains the top 6. Should PSG win, then 7th also will squeak into Europe. Another team that stays in contention is Strasbourg with a 3-1 home win over Saint-Etienne, whereas Monaco only managed a disappointing 1-1 draw at Le Havre. More or less with the only chance for Le Havre. They take the 1-0 lead through Coca in the 22nd minute. Mika Biereth in the second half gets the equalizer. However, despite all their chances, Monaco cannot find a winner and find themselves now only in 4th space. A point behind Monaco sits Lyon, who get an emphatic 4-1 home win over Stade Rennais. Whereas Lille overtake Monaco thanks to 2-0 away win at Angers, with Alexandro and Haraldson scoring both goals. And Guiri is the big hero for Marseille, beating Brest at home 4-1, solidifying for now the second second spot and also extending the lead over Monaco, who sit in fourth. Fourth only gets a Champions League qualification. And also have to mention Guiri with a bicycle kick, although he kind of assisted himself on that one as well. Still, great skill. Both Lisbon Giants continue to be neck on neck. Both Lisbon Giants getting true statement wins on the weekend. It really seems all set for Benfica's last home game against Sporting in round 33, as I have said in the midweek review. Benfica get a 6-0 home win over AVS with 6 different goal scorers. Araujo, Pavlidis, Amdouni, Aktukoglu, Belotti and Otamendi getting on the score sheet. However, Sporting are not outdone and countered it with a 5-0 away win at last placed Boavista. Yes, Boavista is gonna go down, and that is a sad story in itself. But unlike Benfica, who distribute the goal scoring, it was the Victor Gyökeres show who got 4 goals, and then Sporting's Araujo also got in on the action. Third and fourth place will now play in the Europa League. However, only third place goes directly into the Europa League group stage, and Braga thought they had dropped the ball with a 1-1 draw away at Famalicão. However, Porto continued their appalling season, losing 2-0 away at Estrela de Amadora, and so Braga actually extend their lead over Porto to 2 points. And thanks to the 2 Lisbon Giants playing in the Cup final, also 5th place gets in the Conference League, with Santa Clara and Vitória vying for this final spot. Santa Clara got a pretty big 2-0 home win over Arouca. However, Vitória counters that with a 3-0 home win over Rio Ave. So that was it from a really eventful weekend in Europe. Of course, as I said, the celebrations in Seville and also in Liverpool taking the top spot there. The next celebrations will happen in Munich, although this will be away from home. Harry Kane is also not playing, but all the other title races might go down to the wire, as are the Champions League races. And that's where I'm asking you, who do you think will finish in the Champions League spots? In England, in France and in Germany, where it's really wide open, I gotta say. Any case, drop a line below. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like these, and I will talk to you soon with more things in my soccer universe. Bye! Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, here are some videos and playlists that you may enjoy too. Also, please consider subscribing to my channel and hit the little bell icon, so you get notified whenever something happens in my soccer universe. And with that, have a wonderful day. Bye!